Caring Review, print speaking to the blind, celebrating 40 years of audio newspaper production. Welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast, recorded at the Bishop Briggs Media Centre by our amazing volunteers. You can get in touch with us via Facebook, Twitter or Instagram using @QandReview. That is @CuEandReview. You can also contact us directly by emailing information@cuenreview.com. That is INFORMATION or by calling 0141 772 3976. That's 0141 772 3976.
The Glasgow Times, 7th of May. News. Plans approved for a new cafe inside Glasgow's Italian Centre. By Amy Miles. A new cafe is set to breathe life into a long vacant shop unit in one of Glasgow city centre's most exclusive developments after planners gave the go-ahead for a change of use at the Italian Centre. Glasgow City Council has approved full planning permission to convert a ground floor shop at the Italian Centre on Ingram Street into a cafe. The application, submitted by Studio TED Architecture, covers Unit 6 in the Merchant City development, a courtyard complex known for its designer boutiques and restaurants. The plan includes a full cafe fit-out with indoor seating, a service counter, toilets and food preparation and storage areas. Planning officers have attached several conditions to address potential impacts on neighbouring residents and occupiers. The cafe will be permitted to open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily, with strict limits on noise levels from both general activity and amplified music. The decision notice also prohibits cooking on site. Food must be cooked or reheated using sealed units such as microwaves. A fresh planning application would be required to introduce grills, fryers or any open cooking, showing how odours will be dispersed in line with council policy. The Italian Centre, a mixed-use courtyard development, is known for its designer shops and eateries. Separate consents may be required before the cafe can open, including a building warrant, any necessary listed building consent and approvals for signage or outdoor seating. The cafe operator will meet all these requirements before welcoming customers. By Amy Miles. Read by Gordon Brown. The Glasgow Times, 7th of May. News. TSB Bank to disappear after £2.9 billion Santander takeover. By Macaulay Moffat. A major bank is set to disappear from British high streets after more than 2 centuries. Santander UK is reportedly planning to phase out the TSB name following its takeover of the business. The banking group completed its near £3 billion takeover of TSB at the end of April. It marked the single biggest investment in Britain's banking sector for more than 15 years. British Retail and Commercial Bank TSB, based in Scotland, was founded in 1810, originating from the Trustee Savings Bank movement. The TSB brand came about in the 60s, and in the 70s the various trustee banks amalgamated to become TSB, with the brand then listed in 1986. It merged with Lloyds Bank in 1995, which led to the formation of Lloyds TSB in 1999. In 2015, TSB confirmed a takeover bid by Sabadell for £1.7 billion, and today TSB operates around 175 bank sites across the UK. Santander agreed a £2.65 billion buyout of TSB from Spanish banking group Sabadell last year, but said the final price paid rose to £2.9 billion on completion. Now, after the takeover, Santander is reportedly set to drop the TSB brand and run the combined business as Santander UK once the two lenders have been integrated, according to the Financial Times. Reports also say there will be no changes to the TSB brand, TSB accounts or products for at least 12 months. A spokesman for Santander said the acquisition of TSB is about creating a stronger, more competitive bank in the UK, with the scale to invest significantly more in customer services, technology and products. TSB is a strong consumer banking brand, and we recognise the value it has built with customers and within the UK market over a long time. We will consider carefully how to make the most of our brand value in our model long term and expect no immediate changes. Our guidance for expected integration benefits remain unchanged. It's above £400 million in pre-tax cost synergies by 2028. Given the similarities between Santander and TSB's business model, we have previously indicated that this may be exceeded over time across the combined business. However, any upside would come across the combined business and beyond our planning horizon of 2028. Our focus on creating the best bank for customers in the UK, and we are optimistic in the value this will create for all involved. The Santander UK takeover of TSB will see the combined group become the UK's third biggest bank for current accounts and fourth for mortgages, with nearly 28 million customers nationwide. Santander, which is owned by Banco Santander, said there would be no immediate change for customers of Santander or TSB who can continue using their accounts and cards in the same way. Nicola Bannister, who became Chief Executive of TSB on Friday, May the 1st, said, "Today marks a significant new chapter for TSB as we become part of Santander. I look forward to leading TSB as we combine the very best of these two great businesses." Rashid Adita, Santander's UK's new Chief Executive, added, "This is excellent news for UK banking, with the acquisition representing the single largest investment in the sector for over 15 years. Bringing TSB into Santander Group strengthens competitiveness in the market and is an important step in creating the best bank for customers." There have been several UK businesses that have gone into administration in 2026, with some having already disappeared from high streets. Major retailers LK Bennett and Claire's both closed all their stores in April, having previously fallen into administration. The original factory shop has also vanished after closing its 137 stores following administration, with the last store closing in April. UK delivery company Yodel is set to be phased out over the coming months after being acquired by InPost. TD Jones is also reportedly preparing a closure of up to 100 stores after its owner, Modella Capital, is said to be undertaking a major restructuring of the former W.H. Smith high street business. While they have not gone completely, several other retailers have been forced to close stores this year, including River Island, Poundland and Brewdog. Several other companies have fallen into administration, including Russell and Bromley, Moores and Quiz. It has also been reported that Morrisons is looking to sell some of its in-store pharmacies as it continues to cut costs. It's not been all bad news for the UK High Street, with several major brands announcing new store openings for 2026, including Aldi, M&S and Superdrug. By Macaulay Moffat. Read by Gordon Brown. The Glasgow Times, 8th of May. News. Glasgow local denied vote in Scottish Parliament elections. By Xander Elliards. A Glasgow local has been denied the chance to cast their first ever vote in a Scottish Parliament election, despite being told they were on the electoral register. Sammy Densham, who lives in the Annisland area of Glasgow, arrived at his local polling station on Thursday to discover he was not on the roll and should not be allowed to vote. He was turned away despite having a letter from the City Council saying that his electoral registration had been successful, our sister title The National exclusively revealed. I'd been thinking about voting for months, given the current political climate, and I honestly felt so angry when I found out that I wasn't able to vote just because of their stupid administrative mistakes, Densham told The National. It is understood the 20-year-old had received an email from the council's electoral registration office saying there had been an issue on April the 14th. However, he received a letter dated April 15th saying that his recent application to be added to the electoral register had been successful. It went on, "You will be added to the register on 29th of April, unless there is an election called before then, in which case you will be added to the register in time to be able to vote at that election." Densham said he believed the letter was an update saying that the issue outlined in the email had been resolved, but has now been told it was sent in error. "I was very, very angry," he said. "It's one thing if they had communicated that before and given me a chance to amend it, but they didn't even do that. They just sent a letter, but it was false information. I was really annoyed, to be honest." Asked how the situation could be remedied, Densham said, "Well, they could have given me the chance to vote on the spot. I don't know the logistics of that and whether that would be possible, but I don't really see any other way they could have compensated me for not being able to express my opinion in the election." The 20-year-old said he was quite suspicious he had not received a polling card, but he was not unique amongst friends in missing one and thought it had just been delayed or lost in the post. He then found his local polling station by putting his address into an online tool. He explained basically the problem was that I just moved to this address. I lived in another flat like a month ago and I applied to vote at this address while I lived at my last address. The reasoning for rejecting the application was because I should have applied at my old address and then transferred to this address on the electoral register when I moved in. A Glasgow City Council spokesperson said, "We will need to investigate this further and ask that the person contacts the electoral registration office to discuss." By Xander Eliards, read by Gordon Brown. The Glasgow Times, 8th of May. News. Glasgow OAP can't top up Scottish Power meter after almost 10 months. Exclusive by Nicole Mitchell. A pensioner says it is absolutely scandalous he's been left unable to top up his meter for almost 10 months, despite repeated phone calls to his energy supplier. William Morrison had a new smart meter installed by Scottish Power on July the 13th last year, as part of a nationwide phase-out of old radio teleswitch meters. However, Mr Morrison says he's experienced issues topping up his meter ever since then. He told the Glasgow Times, "When I first got it, I put £25 on it and it registered. After that, it went dead and wouldn't take any money. I phoned up and they sent me a new code. I went to the post office and it didn't work. I phoned back again, they sent me another code and it didn't work." Mr Morrison, who has had health issues due to cancer and a stroke, says after 3 months of not being able to top up his meter and several phone calls, he was then told by a Scottish Power representative that he wasn't a customer. He says he has been in his current home for 17 years with Scottish Power supplying his gas and electricity for that time. The 81-year-old continued, "I said I must be a customer. You sent a guy round to put a smart meter in. I'm not anyone else's customer, I can assure you. Then I was told you're not on the grid. Then one day I had a guy on the phone and he said, 'Mr Morrison, I can assure you this will be working by the end of the week.' That was about 6 months ago." Scottish Power has confirmed Mr Morrison is a customer, but the issues have continued. Mr Morrison from Castle Milk says when he first had his new meter installed, he had hundreds of pounds on it, and even received a letter shortly after from Scottish Power saying he was £472 in credit. The retired scaffolder says he is now down to his last £40. and fears he will run out of credit before the problem is solved. He's been going to his daughter's house to shower, have dinner and watch TV to save as much energy as possible. A Scottish Power spokesperson said there has been no risk of his meter running out. Mr Morrison says it's scandalous how the issue has been dealt with by Scottish Power and he feels exasperated. I think Scottish Power is despicable and to deal with them is a nightmare. No one seems to listen. I've tried to explain this 1,000 times and I used to phone 2 or 3 times a week. It feels like they take no notice of you and do what they want. He continued, it's been a nightmare trying to get in touch with them. They just leave you hanging and never phone you. It takes hours to call and it costs a fortune. The last thing I heard is they were dealing with it, but that was 4 weeks ago. I can't keep phoning. The case is now being considered by the Energy Ombudsman. A spokesperson for Scottish Power admitted the customer service Mr Morrison received was below their usual standards and say they are working with the Ombudsman to implement an appropriate resolution. They said, we're sorry for the issues experienced by Mr Morrison, which are currently being considered by the Energy Ombudsman. Mr Morrison's electricity meter was replaced last year as part of the nationwide phase-out of old radio teleswitch meters. Unfortunately, there were issues with his new meter setup, which we've been working to resolve. There was no risk at any time of Mr Morrison's meter running out. However, we know the customer service provided fell far below our usual standards. We're working with the Energy Ombudsman to implement an appropriate resolution that addresses all of this and ensures Mr Morrison's account is restored to prepayment, reflects his previous top-ups and credit balance and offers goodwill for the distress and inconvenience caused. The Glasgow Times previously reported a pensioner in Baillieston was forced to pay almost £7,000 to have her phone rewired after she says damage was caused when a smart meter was fitted on March the 5th. Mary Morgan, 85, said she was left in a nightmare situation after OVO Energy sent out a contractor to fit a smart meter after she was being told the certification for her current meter was expired and she could be getting inaccurate meter readings. She says after it was installed, her ceiling lights no longer worked, though plug sockets were fine. An electrician assessed the damage caused and a report from the Glasgow Rewire stated, "It is my professional opinion that the fault has been caused by inadvertent damage or disturbance to a lighting cable during the smart meter installation." This case is also being considered by the Energy Ombudsman. Exclusive by Nicole Mitchell. Read by Gordon Brown. The Glasgow Times, 8th of May. News. STV's Scottish election coverage replaced by The Chase amid strike. By Lucy Jackson. STV's scheduled Scottish election coverage is set to be replaced by an episode of The Chase as journalists prepare to go on strike. Last month, journalists and technical staff at STV called a one-day strike for Friday, the day votes are counted for the Scottish elections. The strike was called amid an ongoing dispute over management's refusal to put forward any pay award for 2026 or agree principles of any compensatory pay award for 2027. The 0% pay offer comes after STV launched a new radio station at the cost of £500,000 in 2025. The strike was timed to affect coverage for the Holyrood elections, as results will come in on Friday due to there being no overnight count. The broadcaster's coverage of the Scottish elections, which was initially scheduled to start from 5 p.m, has now been replaced by an episode of popular game show The Chase. All programmes scheduled for Friday come from ITV in England, with the exception of a 30-minute programme titled Sean Scotland at 6 p.m, in which STV weather presenter Sean Batty travels to the borders and does various activities, including going on an alpaca trek. Nick McGowan Lowe, NUJ Scotland organiser said it's frustrating that due to the stubbornness of STV management, on the biggest news day in Scotland for years, Scottish viewers, listeners and readers won't be able to hear what some of the most well-respected journalists, reporters and producers in Scottish broadcasting have to say. Our members would much rather be reporting the election results than standing on picket lines, but they've been driven to this action by management's indifference as to how overworked and underpaid they are. McGowan Lowe added, CEO Rufus Radcliffe has once again failed to grasp the opportunity to end this dispute, and it is personally embarrassing for him that STV will be broadcasting reruns instead of the biggest news story in Scotland. An STV spokesperson said, "We recognise a temporary salary freeze is challenging for colleagues, but we've had to take a range of measures to respond to the market conditions faced by the media sector. Returning the business to a strong financial footing is our priority and will protect the long-term interests of our colleagues. We are disappointed that the union's chosen day of action will impact our on-air audiences, and we remain committed to continuing the dialogue with the joint unions." By Lucy Jackson, read by Gordon Brown.
From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 12th of May 2026, from the Lifestyle section. Glasgow Vegan Summer Festival to return this July, and this article was written by Beth Oliver. A major vegan festival is set to return to Scotland this July. The Glasgow Vegan Summer Festival will take place on Sunday, July the 12th, promising a day of plant-based food, ethical shopping and community spirit. It will be held at Easter House Sports Centre in Glasgow from 10:30am to 4:30pm and will feature more than 80 stalls offering vegan products as well as talks and demonstrations. Stalls will include everything from food and beauty items to homeware and crafts. Miracle's Mission, a non-profit animal welfare organisation, will be among the featured charities. The organisation supports sick, injured and disabled animals worldwide through education, neutering programmes and rehoming. The Glasgow Vegan Summer Festival is open to everyone, whether fully vegan, vegetarian or simply curious about plant-based living. Victoria Bryson, founder of Vegan Events UK, said, "I'm looking forward to bringing our vegan festival back to Glasgow this summer. Discover a wonderful vegan community spirit at Glasgow Vegan Summer Festival with more than 80 fantastic stalls and lots of new things to try plus new experiences. Early confirmed caterers are Greek Vegan Deli, who will be serving up an iconic range of traditional Greek vegan savouries, and the plant-based Chippy, who will be serving their irresistible vegan meals, including their iconic fish and chips, a plant-based classic favourite that you won't want to miss. Standard entry costs £5, while VIP tickets are priced at £15 and include fast-track entry and a goodie bag filled with vegan samples, discounts and offers. Children under 16 can attend for free. VIP attendees aged 18 and over will also receive a free can of CBD-infused wine from festival sponsors Rebel Wine. Tickets can be purchased online at www.veganeventsuk.co.uk. Free parking will be available at the venue along with additional street parking nearby. Organisers are also seeking volunteers to help on the day, with shifts available from 9am to 1pm, 12pm to 4pm or for the full day. Volunteer roles include scanning tickets, handling card payments and assisting at the Miracle's Mission charity stall. Volunteers will receive free entry to the festival and a food voucher. And that article was written by Beth Oliver. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday, the 12th of May 2026, from the Lifestyle section. Liam Gallagher responds to Oasis Celtic Park 2027 rumours, and this article was written by Aidan Maxwell. Liam Gallagher has stoked excitement among fans after responding to rumours that Oasis could play a series of huge shows at Celtic Park in 2027. The former Oasis frontman replied to a fan on X who asked, "How are you feeling about playing Celtic Park, by the way?" by correcting them to say, "How are you feeling about us possibly playing Celtic Park?" keeping speculation about a Parkhead gig very much alive. It comes after reports that the Gallagher brothers are in talks over secret plans to return to Scotland next summer, with up to 5 dates mooted and Celtic Park named as a potential venue at the end of the football season. Last year, more than 200,000 fans travelled to Edinburgh to see the band play 3 nights at Murrayfield Stadium as part of their Live 25 run, their first Scottish shows since Oasis originally split in 2009. And that article was written by Aidan Maxwell. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday, the 12th of May 2026, from the Lifestyle section. River City's Stephen Purdon reveals his first job offer since BBC Axe, and this article was written by Aidan Maxwell. River City star Stephen Purdon has left co-hosts Grado and Chris Toll in stitches after revealing the unexpected job offer he received in the wake of the BBC soap's Axe. The actor, who played shell-suit Bob O'Hara on the long-running Glasgow drama for 24 years, appeared on the trio's podcast A Pint and Two Shots alongside Scottish wrestler and actor Grado and co-host Chris Toll to reflect on River City filming its final ever scenes. Purdon opened up about the emotional final day on set before turning to the subject of what comes next, revealing his agent had phoned him while he was doing radio work with what he thought could be a promising audition. Building the story up, he described how he spotted his agent, Natasha, calling and decided to let it simmer rather than answer straight away, saying, "I've won the lottery, I don't check it, so I thought I'll just leave it now." When he finally called back and his agent told him she had a tape for him, his excitement quickly gave way to bewilderment when she asked him, "I just have to ask you, are you okay with full frontal nudity?" The punchline sent all 3 hosts into extended hysterics, with Grado and Toll unable to contain their laughter at one of Bob's first post-River City job offer. And that article was written by Aidan Maxwell. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday, the 12th of May 2026, from the Lifestyle section. The Bahamas to temporarily ban the sale of alcohol this week, and this article was written by Patrick Glover. Scots travelling to a holiday hotspot are being warned about a temporary alcohol ban which will be in place on Tuesday, May the 12th. The Bahamas is a popular destination for travellers from all over the world, with the Caribbean country welcoming 12.5 million visitors in 2025, an 11.4% increase from 2024. There are around 16 flights per week from the UK to the Bahamas, mostly departing from London, and hundreds of cruise packages available in 2026. The Bahamas is set to temporarily ban the sale of alcohol on Tuesday while the country holds its general election, according to the Washington Times. The ban, which will include private resort destinations owned and run by cruise companies, will be in place from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. Royal Caribbean confirmed that alcohol will be banned at its private island, Coco Cay, on Tuesday. A Royal Caribbean spokesperson talking to People said, Royal Caribbean is respecting and complying with all local laws and regulations, as we do with every destination we visit. 2 of its ships, Wonder of the Seas and Oasis of the Seas, will be visiting Coco Cay on Tuesday. People added, the cruise line said Perfect Day at Coco Cay and its Royal Beach Club Paradise Island will remain open and alcohol will continue to be available aboard its ships. Major Spanish airport closed until the end of May. Elsewhere, we previously reported that Santiago Rosalía de Castro Airport has been closed for the month, resulting in the cancellation of all flights affecting thousands of British travellers. Around 3.6 million people travel through Santiago Rosalía de Castro Airport each year. However, the airport has been closed until the end of May, so resurfacing works can take place on the runway. Santiago Rosalía de Castro closed on April the 23rd and won't reopen until May the 27th. Its website continues, during this period, the airport will be closed to all air traffic and no takeoffs or landings will take place. If you have any questions about your flight status, schedule changes or possible rebooking, we recommend contacting your airline. How does this closure affect British travellers? Around 30 flights run each week between the UK and Santiago Rosalía de Castro Airport. Most of the flights operate out of London-based airports, including Heathrow, Gatwick and Stansted, while there are also non-direct flights to Santiago Rosalía de Castro from Manchester. The major airlines that operate flights between the UK and Santiago Rosalía de Castro include British Airways, Ryanair, Aer Lingus, Vueling, KLM. All these flights will be cancelled while the airport is closed, affecting thousands of Brits travelling to southwest Spain. And that article was written by Patrick Glover. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 12th of May 2026, from the news section. Driver charged after crash smashes into house in Bishopbriggs crash. And this article was written by Aidan Maxwell. A driver has been charged after a car ploughed into a house during a 2-vehicle crash in Bishopbriggs yesterday afternoon. Emergency services raced to Lumloch Drive, East Dunbartonshire, at around 3:25 p.m. on Monday, May the 11th, after reports of a collision which caused damage to a property. Photos shared with The Sun from the scene showed a dark blue car smashed into the side of a house with large cracks visible in the brickwork and loose mortar along the wall where the vehicle struck. The front of the home also appeared to have suffered significant structural damage, with cracking extending from the wall to beneath the window. Red and white caution tape was erected around the property as several fire engines and police cars descended on the scene, with officers and firefighters seen on foot at the crash site. Fortunately, no injuries were reported as a result of the incident. A Police Scotland spokesperson said, around 3:25 p.m. on Monday, May the 11th, 2026, police received a report of a 2-vehicle crash on Lumloch Drive, Bishopbriggs, which resulted in damage to a building. There were no injuries reported and recovery was arranged. One driver has been charged in connection with a road traffic offence. And that article was written by Aidan Maxwell, read by me, Caroline. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday, the 12th of May 2026, from the news section. Northern Lights could be visible across Scotland on Wednesday, May the 13th, and this article was written by Aidan Maxwell. Scots could be in with a chance of spotting the Northern Lights later this week after a massive burst of solar activity was recorded over the weekend. A coronal mass ejection, CME, blasted off the sun at around 1:30 p.m. on Sunday, May the 10th, sending billions of tonnes of superhot solar plasma and powerful magnetic fields hurtling towards Earth. Experts at the Met Office say a section of the expanding solar cloud could brush past Earth on Wednesday, May the 13th, potentially sparking a minor geomagnetic storm. When the cloud of particles hits the Earth's magnetic shield, an aurora borealis is produced, painting the night sky with shades of pink, purple and green. The Met Office said, auroral activity is expected to be mostly at background levels. However, there is a potential for a glancing CME arriving into early UTC on the 13th of May. This may bring an enhancement to the auroral oval, perhaps allowing sightings across northern Scotland and similar geomagnetic latitudes where skies are clear. Scotland and other high latitude regions are among the best places in the UK to catch a glimpse of an aurora, with sightings possibly every few months. 2026 is expected to be a peak year for aurora activity as the sun reaches the height of its 11-year solar cycle. Here are the Met Office's top tips for catching the Northern Lights this week. Always check the weather forecast before heading out, as high cloud cover can block the display entirely. Get away from the light pollution of busy towns and cities and find a dark rural location far from street lights. Scan the northern horizon for unusual light patterns, as the display can sometimes begin as a faint dancing mist. Do not be disheartened if the lights look faint to the naked eye, as the aurora often appears much brighter in photographs due to long exposure settings on cameras. And that article was written by Aidan Maxwell. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday, the 12th of May 2026, from the news section. Police called to disturbance at Glasgow's busy Four Corners Junction. And this article was written by Aidan Maxwell. Police were called to a disturbance at one of Glasgow city centre's busiest junctions this morning. Officers were seen parked at the so-called Four Corners area at Argyll Street near Central Station after the alarm was raised around 8:15 a.m. Photographs taken by the Glasgow Times show police vans stopped outside McDonald's and close to Tim Hortons as rush hour traffic passed. One passerby said they saw officers walk out of McDonald's into KFC as they checked the surrounding area. Police later said there was nothing ongoing when they arrived, but that inquiries into the disturbance report are continuing. A Police Scotland spokesperson said, around 8:15 a.m. on Tuesday, the 12th of May 2026, we received a report of a disturbance at Argyll Street, Glasgow. Officers attended. There wasn't anything ongoing. Inquiries are continuing. And that article was written by Aidan Maxwell. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 12th of May 2026, from the news section. Protesters rally outside Glasgow subway station over wheelchair access, and this article was written by Aidan Maxwell. Disability rights campaigners have taken to the streets for the second time in recent months over the lack of wheelchair access on Glasgow's subway network. Close to 50 protesters gathered outside Kelvinbridge Station on Sunday for a peaceful demonstration organised by the recently formed Access to Transport network. The protest highlighted the fact that only 2 of the subway's 15 stations, Govan and St Enoch, are currently wheelchair accessible. Campaigners and representatives from public transport group Get Glasgow Moving, as well as a local Scottish Greens councillor, were among those present for more than 2 hours. Network operator Strathclyde Partnership for Transport, SPT, began a £288 million modernisation of the subway in 2011, with improving accessibility listed as part of its mission. SPT has this year confirmed plans to introduce partial wheelchair access at Hillhead and Buchanan Street stations, but campaigners have raised concerns over timescales and the limited scope of the works. Protest organiser Ray told the Glasgow Times there isn't a start date announced and they are only looking at adding lifts to the outer circle right now. It's nearly a start, but we have so incredibly far to go. Ray also expressed disbelief at the Scottish Government's National Transport Strategy, which sets out a vision for public transport as easy to use for all, saying, "This vision absolutely is not the current reality. It's almost laughable that they think this is anywhere close to being true at the moment." Of the £288 million modernisation budget, £240 million comes from the Scottish Government. Ray said the group chose a peaceful protest over a disruptive one because they are looking to spread awareness of the situation and are here to have a conversation with SPT. A spokesperson for SPT said, "Glasgow Subway is the 3rd oldest in the world and still operates and works within a Victorian tunnel system that is almost 130 years old. SPT has always committed that it would continue to look for ways to introduce more step-free access at our stations as opportunities and alternative solutions become available. Everyone should be assured that we have carefully considered all options. However, the realities of working within our small Victorian tunnel system does mean we are heavily restricted in some of the things that we would like to be able to do. That does not mean we are not continually seeking ways round the challenges presented." And that article was written by Aidan Maxwell.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Q and Review and to tell your friends about our service.